Hello, happy Wednesday. Today I'm here with my, well, if you're watching on YouTube, with my dog, but also with my sister-in-law. She is going to help talk and give tips on like boundaries with your in-laws because she's who I go to for advice for like healthy coping mechanisms with problems. But first we are going to say like our wins of the week. So I'll go first. Brooklyn's birthday was on Wednesday. It was a good day. We went out on the boat, had a lot of fun, and then on Friday we celebrated and gave her like a yes day. She got to go to the mall.
Fun.
She called it a yes day, but it was pre-planned to go to the mall.
Yeah.
So they had a half day, got done at noon. I picked like her and her friend up, and then we went to the mall. Well, first we went to Kohl's because they wanted matching outfits. So her and her friend got matching outfits, and then we dropped Elena off, and then I brought the girls to the mall. We were at the mall, so they got done at noon. I didn't bring that little girl home till 5:30.
Dang.
We shopped.
That would be so fun though.
I gave Brooklyn.
I feel like that's what I did like on my 16th birthday.
Really?
Is I went to the mall with my friends and just like shopped and did a bunch of stuff.
Kim, load. Good boy. So we did the mall. Yeah, we went to like all the stores, like Earthbound and Claire's. Where'd we go? We went into JCPenney. I don't even remember why. And it was funny
not much for
because the little girl was like, yeah. The little girl was like, oh, let's look in the clearance section. And I'm like, I can tell you have a bargain, Mom.
Every time we go to Kohl's, it'd be like, okay, go to the clearance.
Yeah, so she went over there. And then, I don't know, we just went to like all the stores. There's like a new store in the mall that has like a bunch of, I don't know if it's like candies or whatever.
Ooh.
Like bear stuff. Like,
That would be cool.
yeah.
I haven't been in the mall in a long time.
It's where Deb used to be.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I went to Deb.
So it was there. That was fun because neither of the girls had been in there. It's like I think it just opened like last month. That was fun. And then, yeah, got pretzels over by Target. Got like chips, Subway. So it literally was the most random. And they got matching cups too. So then they like poured their drinks into like the cups. It was cute. And then they got some matching necklaces because they won't go to school together next year. Because we open and roll, Brooklyn has to go to like a different intermediate school. So they'll have 2 years apart and then they'll go back together. And then they'll finish like their last 6 years together.
Okay.
They'll have this like 2 years. And Elena's actually in like her little brother's class. So Elena was like, I want to have play dates with him. So I was like, okay, like we'll make sure to get together like this summer, continue like stuff going on because the little girl's like into like the stuff Brooklyn's into. So
Yeah.
it's like cute. And she like made her the cutest little card. And then also like Friday morning, yeah. I don't know why he's even looking up at the stairs. The cat is behind the couch. This is why we record in Vanessa's car. So there's no options.
Yeah, there's too many animals, too many children.
Because at both of our houses, the dogs and the kids.
Yeah.
So you're ruining it, Kim. But Friday morning, because she was going to be in my car, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to clean my car out. So it doesn't look so clean. There's a lot of drinks in the cup holder. But I like vacuumed it out, cleaned my car out, and that just felt like good.
That always feels good.
Part of the podcast is like getting my shit together. Having a clean car is a good start.
For sure.
What'd you win this week?
My win of the week was just surviving this week. I am a stay-at-home mom now, officially, as of like 5 p.m. on last Friday.
Woo woo!
Yes. So happy about it. But my husband, Ben, works as a corporal at the jail in Stevens Point, and so he works shift work, like 7 on, 7 off, and he was on nights, and it was kind of a nightmare, because, I mean, it always is, like, no matter what, because he has, like, a couple hours with us each day, but it's kind of crazy, and then he's gone for the night, which I'm sure every mom knows is, like, the worst time ever. But, yeah, I have a 2.5-year-old, and he's, like, 8 months now. So it's like trying to get them to sleep, and no one wants to sleep at the right time. So then it's like 10 o'clock, and I finally am like, okay, they're both. It took forever. So just surviving the week was enough. Although I do still have tonight and tomorrow night.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Both of our husbands are at work.
Typical.
That's like...
He did make me breakfast this morning, so that was nice.
Yeah, no, Josh... Okay, so... It was like the Northern Lights last night, right?
Did you see it?
Well, I didn't realize that you had to look north. I thought you just had to look up. I thought you would just look up and see them. So me and my son were driving around for hours and hours because I honestly had like actually a really like bad mental health week.
Yeah.
So I was like super stressed out all week, and so I was like, come over, like let's just go on a walk so I can like get some oomph back, like, and get out of this bed. She came over. We went on like a 5-mile walk. We like walked to the gas station to get Joshua Mountain Dew. Then we walked down by the water, like so far. And then it was a little bit creepy because there was like someone fighting on like a bridge, like the Lawrence Bridge over there.
Really?
Yeah. So then we were like, okay, let's go back. And then we said, let's drive and like try and find them. So we drove out to our mom's, who kind of sort of lives in the country, and we couldn't see them. And then I see on Facebook, my uncle in Appleton is posting photos on Facebook, seeing them. So
and
we're
you're
like,
just looking up like, where?
Yeah. So I called him and he's like, oh, like you have to look north. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, they're called the Northern Lights. And I was like, oh my gosh, Vanessa, what if we've been looking in the wrong... This is after midnight now. So
then were doing that for that
No,
long?
so then we drove around until 2 a.m.
Oh my gosh.
So, well, actually, we pulled into my driveway at 1:30. And my windows were open.
Too long.
Yeah.
It was not worth it for that amount of time.
My windows were open upstairs, and I said to Vanessa, I was like, oh my gosh, Josh's alarms are going to start going off. And she's like, they start at 1:30. And I'm like, yes, because he does them every 5 minutes for 2.5 hours.
Stop.
I'm dead serious. So I take his Apple Watch and I click the snooze on it. Because he doesn't wake up at 1:30. He doesn't wake up at 2:30. He does not get up until 3. Between 3 and 3:30. But they go off for that long.
That's horrible. Ben always does like 1 ahead of time, and for a while he was doing like 3 before, and I'm like, you must stop. I'm not okay with it.
No, it sucks. So then I would like snooze a couple of his alarms, but I also like kind of want to wake up to like make sure. Like I'm so nervous. He was actually late one time.
I remember that because Eric was late like the same week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I kind of just want to make sure like that he's up. But there's been a couple times where I wake up at like 5 and I just like go right to my phone and check his location. Like he's in the parking lot, right? I just panic. So
yeah, you need to take like a couple deep breaths.
I really am like, I should probably be on medicine at this point. Like, I just need to bite the bullet. We have insurance. Do it. Like,
yeah, just like talk to somebody about it.
Well, all my doctors just, like it's clear as day.
Yeah, like you have anxiety. It's pretty obvious. I think we've all known since we've known you. Yeah,
well, and but it's more than that too. Like, so with Josh, I was like, babe, can you give me, like I told him on Wednesday, can you give me a list? And he's like, just clean the bathroom. And I'm like, but my brain doesn't even process just cleaning the bathroom. Like, I need to know, like, toilet, floors, garbage. Like, I need, like...
like, list it out.
Yeah, I need to, like, go to, like, counseling, psychology. I need a lot of help. But, so, yeah, Vanessa and I got home, like, so late. I don't even remember where I was going with this story. But his alarms were already going off. And then... he was to work on time. It was fine. But I was so tired from being up so late. Elena and Kenzie, like, crawl into bed with me. And then they, like, I think they wanted breakfast. And I was like, oh, just 10 more minutes. Just 15 more minutes. Yeah. And then Brooklyn walks in, made waffles in the waffle maker. I cried.
She's getting so big.
She put coffee in a cup with coffee creamer and put waffles in the shape of a smiley face on a plate.
Stop.
Yeah.
She's like the sweetest. No.
So I come downstairs, the waffle mix is out in measuring cups, and I was like, she like read the directions and measured it. And got the waffle maker out of the cupboard and used the cooking spray.
Yeah.
I cried. And then when I was retelling this story to Josh, when he called on his break, I like cried again. I was like, oh my.
I feel like I know where Elena gets all her emotions from now.
Oh yeah, it's very clear. So, yeah, very wild, crazy week.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
For sure. So I just can't believe. And then Elena and Kenzie wanted more, so I just made more waffles, and that's what we have for breakfast. And
Nice.
hung out, brought the kids to my in-laws, your parents, and now, here we are. So, in-laws. Like,
Perfect segue into the topic of the day.
I, struggle. And, hating me, not hating me, do I care?
Which, by the way, she is, the bubbliest, happiest person. She, would never say anything mean about anybody. Yeah. Ever, even when they are being mean to her.
That's very true.
It's so funny that you have that feeling, but I think it is just, your anxiety coming through and just being worried about that.
And then sometimes I'm I don't even care. If she does hate me, I don't even care. But then it's not that I don't care. I very much do care.
Yeah. Care too much.
It's super hard because, I guess I don't have, an example off the top of my head, but it just feels even with, Christmas stuff, I don't want to be a bother about the date that we have Christmas, but also, I do want it my way.
Yeah.
So then it's hard, and then it's, when we have all of our families, trying to... It's I don't want to burden, because I know your mom anxiety takes stuff to heart.
Yeah, she also has and it's just a little crazy for her sometimes. Yeah, especially with all the kids, when we have all of them over there, because it's 7 now. Yeah. So yeah, it can tend to be a lot.
So then it's I don't know. I just feel over the years it's just been so much. Mm-hmm. Because we were going there, almost twice a week for dinners at one point.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Cut back to once a week for dinners. So, for the podcast, Ashley lives, an hour away.
Yeah.
And
I'm not usually there.
Yeah. So, it was, literally Sunday fun day and Thursdays before your parents retired.
And Sunday was, all day.
All day.
Yeah.
And so, then... I would say to Josh, I don't really want to be there all day Sunday. Mm-hmm. Sunday should almost be, a reset. Laundry, grocery shopping.
Family time. I mean, you guys were working, so
yeah.
It's a lot.
So, then we, cut it back to, once a week. And then it was, we would sometimes go, we would sometimes not go. And then the summer of COVID, we got the boat. Mm-hmm. And so we, never went there. Which I was, okay with because we were, on the boat so much. But then it started feeling now they're doing stuff and we're, nah. And then it's, you feel left out, kind of. Mm-hmm. So it's just been, a roller coaster.
Yeah, of trying to figure out, your happy medium.
Yeah.
Because, with my mother-in-law, who lives in Plover, so pretty close to Stevens Point where and we just kind of, I'm more so just, once I start feeling I haven't seen them in a while, they probably want to see the kids, I'll just, send her a quick text and be hey, do you want to come to dinner or, have us over or something? Yeah. Then we'll just go and hang out with them for a while. But it also doesn't have to be, the whole day. You just, text my mom and be hey, you want to go get ice cream with the kids? Yeah. And then just have it be, a couple-hour thing. So, because maybe it's just feeling more like a big chin. You're okay, it's my whole day I have to spend there, and then I can get this, and this done. Where if you just, met somewhere, even going to a park or something, and just have, a little bit of time, then it wouldn't be so daunting.
It's just, I don't know. I'm not the best with boundaries.
Yeah, it's a work in progress.
So I think Vanessa and I are going to, read some books about boundaries, too, because...
Yeah, that's probably good.
So, it's been an evolution, I feel of me, of your parent, them retiring even, of Josh and, how much he wants to be there even. Mm-hmm. And then it's, you don't want to hurt any feelings, you still want the kids to see each other, you don't want anyone to, feel left out.
Yeah. I feel a lot of times you kind of have to, set those feelings and try to say, what's great for me right now? Yeah. What's going to work for me so that... Because if you're just, anxious about everything and trying to figure stuff out, you're not going to have fun when you go.
So, okay, explain. You and Ben got together when you were, way young. How did it all go?
I just turned 20. Ben was 21. We went to college together. Met through a mutual friend. And, I can't even remember, the first time that I actually went over to his parents' house. But I think it was pretty quickly.
Really?
Because he lived in... the shittiest house.
Really?
Like, no joke. It was so nasty. I went over there because it was like the end of college for the year, so like it was the start of summer break.
Yeah. So did he move out or stay there?
He was there for like the whole summer.
Okay.
But we like never stayed there. It was just like we would party there and then we would go back to his parents' house like the next morning and like eat their food and stuff. Because there's like no food in the house. Like,
oh my gosh.
The worst college house you can think of. That's what it was.
Well, I didn't go to college.
It's just like, it was like such a nasty house. I went there and I was about to take my shoes off when I got there the first time, and he's like, no, just leave your shoes on. And I'm like, okay, I guess this is that kind of house.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be like the dirtiest, nastiest thing.
So it's all guys?
It was, let's see, there's 2 guys and then 1 girl. And the girl was like the dirtiest out of all of them. She had like this rabbit.
Oh,
She would let it out like everywhere in the house. It was like pooping, peeing. It was gross. So needless to say, we stayed at his parents' house like frequently.
So where did you live then in college?
Well, I lived. So that was like I was on campus living in the dorms, and then the year ended, and I went to move home for the summer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I would like go back and forth between Point and Appleton like on the weekends, and I would like go visit him and stuff. But like, yeah, we would just stay at his parents' house. We didn't really ask if it was okay, but I would just kind of like start spending the nights, and they just like realize I was there the next day. I never asked them if they were cool with it. I don't know what their thoughts were. No, they were fine. They were like so nice about it, and I'm like, okay. We would just like eat their food, and sometimes Ben would like go to work, and I would still be there.
Was it awkward?
It was a little awkward, but it was like, what? I'm not in nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna hang out in this like nasty house.
That's funny.
Yeah, so they were very sweet about that. I don't know if they were behind closed doors.
Literally. So, well, okay. You just like, and it was not. You didn't care. You were never like nervous?
I would feel like a little awkward about it. But I mean, I was also 20, so I didn't really give a shit about anything.
Yeah.
I was like, I just am gonna like have a good time.
That's the hardest part, I think, too, is like your dad is always like, you're from the like, what was it, Maple Street or whatever house, and I'm like, I didn't party with Josh. Like, I never did drugs.
Which is hard to believe because Josh has had so many run-ins with that stuff. Like, even in high school, it was, like, always party after party after party.
Yeah, and so your dad's like, well, he fixed your car there. And I'm like, I met him at your house to fix the car. Hey.
You were part of that stuff.
Yeah, so because your neighbor up the street, like, basically, I graduated high school early and then started at the tech. So she's like, oh, I have this, like, broke college kid. When I was, like, literally just turned 18, because I graduated a semester early, like, in high school, because I hated being there. So I took, like, an online class, and I, like, faked a gym credit, and, like, got
out of there.
Yeah. So my mom had to, like, sign, basically, some paperwork that I was, like, working out at home to, like, get me that gym credit.
Really?
Yeah, and then I graduated, and I, like, started at the tech right away. So I was introduced to Josh as, like, a broke college kid who needs... My gas line was leaking, and I was smoking cigarettes, and so I was like, a lot of my people that were older than me were like, you're gonna explode, you need to, like, fix this. And I was like, I can't afford,
we don't need you dying.
I can't afford to fix this. So I went to your parents' house. The very first day I met Josh was at your parents' house.
Really?
Yeah. Because I pulled up, and then he pulls up behind me, and I was like, oh my god, he's so hot.
Ew.
And then, he fixed my car, and then I went to pick it up from that house, like the Maple Street house or whatever.
Yeah.
So your dad is always like, I knew, like, her car was there, and I'm like, I literally have nothing.
He probably was, like, complaining about it so much. He hated when Josh would have just, like, random cars in the garage and be like, you need to get this out of here. And Josh would be like, I don't have anywhere else to put it.
My car is so trash, too, and, like, the windows were keyed. It was, like, a $500 beater. The windows were keyed from the, like, person that owned it before. So, like, it was all scratched up, dented in, back. Wow. It looked, my closet was in the back seat, like,
So great first impressions for the future in-laws.
And then I feel like by the time I met you, I was already pregnant.
I think so.
Yeah.
Like, maybe you had come over beforehand and, like, hung out with Josh or something.
But not, like, I think the first time I met, yeah.
I would kind of, like, avoid his girls because they don't really last that long. Or they'd be insane.
Yeah, I mean, I'm insane.
No, like, legit, like, insane.
So
I would just, like, go to my room and be like, I'm just gonna not figure out who this one is. Yeah. And I'll just wait until...
Well, he said to me, he's like, my dad and my sister are the only ones that matter. And I was like, that's scary.
Like, better to them.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, you meet, like, Ben's parents. It's great.
Yeah.
And then...
They were always really nice. Very sweet. I would say, like, the only thing that I really had issues with was, like, when we were getting married. Mm-hmm. And it would be, like, a lot of compromise on, like, figuring out what we're doing for the wedding. Yeah. And then I would just have, like, this feeling of, this is my wedding. Like, why am I compromising?
So how'd you deal with it?
I just, like, I just, like, complain about it and, like, kind of vent. And then I'd feel better and be like, okay, well, this makes sense. Like, I understand it's not, like, wholly about me, like, this day. Like, there's going to be a lot of other people there. I'll make sure, like, they're comfortable and stuff. Mm-hmm. So, I think it's a lot of, like, just making sure you kind of look at the other perspective. From my perspective, it's like, okay, this is my day, so stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, like, looking at it the other way, like, okay, yeah, this makes sense for... the other guests would want to have this, and I'm not really thinking about that in the moment. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times I'll try to just, like, be like, okay, like, and I'm talking to them about something, and then, like, rethink about it later, and then come back to it. Okay. Because I don't want to, like, get into a fight. Yeah. Like, I don't want any fights. Yeah. Nobody wants that.
Exactly.
Especially with in-laws, I feel like it's awkward. Yeah. With my family, it's just, like, all they did.
Well, that's, like, another hard part, too, is, like, literally all my family... I mean, my aunt has been married, and, like, but everyone else is, like, not together. Yeah. So I feel like Josh brings, like, a totally different, like, perspective, kind of. But also not, because he was divorced and had another baby mama. So.
Yeah. Josh was kind of, like, the not great decision maker of the family.
But he, like, is very much, like... No, like, we're married, we have these kids, like, but I don't really know exactly how to explain it because it doesn't, like, really make sense, but he, like, very much cares, like, that we are, like, dating and we're, like, in love, and once the kids move, we're still gonna be in love and happy, so it's, like, different, because I'm very quick to just be like, alright, like, it's really toxic because you're not supposed to say, like, let's just be done then. But, like, that's, like, how I'm just like, all right, like, you're not happy with me, like, bye.
Yeah, like, peace.
And then he's like,
when in reality, it should be more like, okay, we need to figure out what's actually wrong, and then we gotta kind of, like, meet in the middle.
So it's very different, too, like, your parents, like, being together. And they're, like, the first people I know to, like, retire.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I had a conversation with your dad the other day because I was like, oh, I, like, met this mom at the school and, like, she was talking about her mom, and I just, like, kind of assumed because she was older than me, so her mom was older, that, like, her mom was probably retired. Yeah. Because, like, your parents retired at the ages that they did, so I was just like...
Yeah, I'm a couple years younger than him.
They were just, like, young, and they just, like, retired, so I just, like, assumed... And I, like, said then to your dad, I was like, you guys are the first people I know to, like, retire.
He's just, like, breathing into the mic.
But Mark and Sue are retired, right?
Yeah, they retired shortly after my parents did. They actually have been really great about, like, making sure that we are prepared for that. Okay. Because, like, I don't know, sometimes I feel like parents don't really talk about money stuff with their kids. And so then I kind of am just like, I don't really know what to do about, like, retirement. There's so many different accounts you can create and stuff like that. And they just, like, had us go to a financial advisor and I feel, like, more prepared about it and stuff. So that was really great. I mean, I feel like just having open communication with your in-laws is great.
So how does Ben feel about the in-law thing? Like, he's, like, good with your parents?
Yeah.
I mean, your parents love him.
Yeah, my parents are pretty chill. I feel like they love him more than me sometimes. Plus, like, Ben is kind of, like, with his job, he can't really visit as much as, like, necessarily you would.
See, I think that was, like, a big, like, fault Like, after we had Brooklyn, like, we were just there so much.
Yeah.
And I was so young, so that's, like, another thing, like, having, like, boundaries that we want to, like, talk, is I was just so young. So, like, my family having opinions, Josh's family having opinions, me, like, not knowing what even my opinions are. And I feel like even now, like, I can set a rule for the kids and within a couple months be like, oh, this, like, rule doesn't work. Like, we need to change it. Back then, I was, like, I don't know. I just, like, it was very, like, stressful.
Yeah, we had, like, all these other different, like, opinions coming at you. Yeah. And, like, you're so young, so you don't really know what you think about, like, motherhood and, like, actually what to teach your kids. Because that's, like, a huge thing to think about that nobody really thinks about. Like, I waited to have kids until I was 31 is when I had Tilly. And so, like, I felt more prepared, but I also, like, went to school for a lot of the stuff related to motherhood and things. So I felt, like, good about it. But most people don't. They don't have that experience. So I can imagine just, like, being thrown into that and then, like, okay, do I listen to this person? Or, like, this person tells me to do this. Yeah. Like, what am I supposed to do?
Back then, I, too, thought, like, whoever I was closest with, like, I just, like, do what they did.
Yeah.
And then, like, later on, and, like, reading books, you realize, like, don't take advice from people unless you want to, like, trade spots with them.
Yeah.
That was, like, a big... It was literally, like, 2 weeks ago that I learned what faith meant. Believing in something that you can't see. And I keep saying it to Josh over and over and over again. I'm like, we were on the phone having a conversation, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like faith. Like, this is like, we just have to believe.
And Josh is like, okay.
Yeah, so, like, you guys grew up, like, going to church.
Yeah.
And I, like, said to Josh, like, for a little while, too, like, we need to be, like, a good family. We need to go to church.
Yeah.
And he, like, didn't want to, and I was like, but this is what, like, proper families do. So it was, like, I've just had so many things.
Yeah, you kind of have to just, like, figure it out for yourself what is something that you want to, like, latch onto.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, if, like, the faith thing isn't something you want to, like, pursue, like, you can have different aspects of it, but not necessarily, like, go to church every week.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, too. I always thought faith was just like, oh, you, like, believe in God.
Yeah.
And it's
like one way to do it, and that's it.
Yeah, but then I was like, no, faith is, like, you can believe in your workouts and have faith that you're going to see results in, like, a couple months. I was like, this is so, like, mind-blowing.
Like, the definition of a word.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's been weeks now of me just, like, texting and calling Josh and being like, oh my gosh, this is, like, faith.
He's probably like, shut up.
So it really, okay, so when you guys had your kids.
Yeah. That, I feel like, was pretty easy. There wasn't a ton of things I needed to, like, set boundaries with them. Okay. But I think they also were really great about watching, like, how I treated the kids. And, like, how I, like, told them to do certain things. So they would, like, make sure to do the same types of things.
Do you parent really to your sister-in-law?
Yeah, I would say so. She's a little more, like, strict on some things. Like, she won't have the kids drink any soda. I think they had, like... if the camera goes, it's because camera is, like, right under it.
I said my biggest fear, too, was my phone breaking from him knocking it over with his tail. But, okay, so she's a little bit more strict about...
Yeah, so, like, I think the kids, they're... What are they now? 5 and 6? Or
we were pumping.
Pumping at your bachelorette party. Yeah, so, like, she, I think, just let them have, like, their first soda. And, I mean, Tilly had soda. Yeah, she was so pumped about it. Cute. And she went to, like, a Polito's, which is the pizza place in Point. And she got, I think it was one of the Point sodas. It was, like, the buttery or something. Good. And she took a drink out of it, and she was just like, oh, my God. Chugging it. And I'm like,
they're so good.
Probably should get her home. But, yeah, we're a little more, like, lax on that kind of stuff. But, yeah, most part, they're pretty similar in parenting style with us.
That's good.
Yeah. A little more, like, on the gentle parenting side. Not, like, crazy strict or anything.
I feel like that was also kind of, like, a difference. Like, so we had Brooklyn, and then... It's hard to, like, I don't want to say names. So we, like, Josh's brother, your brother, had children. And I feel like we, like, don't parent the same. Like, at all.
I feel like you guys are complete opposites.
Yeah. Especially, like, we are like, oh, you drop whatever on the floor, like, that's gonna build your immune system, eat it.
Yeah.
And then Eric's very much like, no, like, get that away from them. Like, they
Yeah.
can't eat that, cheese it off the ground. That, and like, Brayden and Brooklyn are what, a year and a half apart?
Yeah.
So then that was like difficult. And like, I struggled with that too, because it felt like they're doing it the right way and we're doing it the wrong way. So then that like added to like my insecurities. Like, I don't know if anyone even like thought that or felt that way, but then I would like get in the car and I would just like freak out.
Yeah. I mean, it's so hard not to compare yourself to other people that you're close with and like how they're parenting their kids. Especially since like you feel like you could just like mess up your kids at any point.
Yeah.
So like having that fear of like, oh no, I'm doing this wrong.
Yeah.
It's just never ending.
Well, and that's like another struggle. Like, a lot of my like struggle too kind of was like, I'm not like the cleanest person. Like, keeping my car clean, like your parents.
Which Josh isn't either.
No, it's really like a real struggle over here.
Yeah. Because
like he will just like let like soda cans pile up and whatever, and then it's like I'm like, that's like his job. Like, I don't. There's just like different. We're at a way better place now than we like ever have been before.
Yeah.
We still have a lot to go, but then it's like kind of like judgment about that. Like, I just felt like, I don't know, like, I don't really exactly, I guess, know how to explain it either, but it's like, I like my car always being dirty, but then like they would show up and they have a kid like the same age, their car's not dirty.
Yeah.
So then it's like, oh my god, like I don't even want to go to your parents. I don't even want to hear it. And Josh like wanting to go there, and that like it just became like so like I don't want to hear it. I don't want to go. And he would like make me go. Like it wasn't like an option to not go.
Well, and is it more like stuff in your head, just thinking that, where it's like, okay, I see their car is clean and mine is dirty, so your anxiety is just like, okay, they're thinking that, and they notice the same thing, and they're like judging me on it. Yeah, and it's like, so I had to like really like try to like not care. Yeah. But then sometimes you can go like too far in that direction, and then just like really not care about it. And then it comes off rude. Yeah. So then you have to like find the in between where you can't like necessarily listen to that voice in your head being like, okay, they're judging you, like they see this and they know. Yeah. You have to just like turn it down. Yeah, it's like I didn't know that's so hard to do though. It feels impossible sometimes. It really does. Yeah. And that's like even so my dad's son and Elena are like 2 weeks apart, I think. Yeah. Really so I never wanted to listen that way either, because I did kind of feel a little bit of like, because your mom would be like, when did Brooklyn walk? For then like when Brayden would walk. And I'm like don't get, and I feel like she just didn't know. No. But then she's probably just using it as like a general like, oh, is he gonna be doing it soon? Like exciting. And she would like always ask me to like, how far can they see? Like anytime they were, how far can they see? And I'm like, I don't know. Like if you want to know, Google it. Like stop asking me. Like I don't need to have this memorized. No, and I feel like it was never like out of judgment or anything. Like you don't know enough about parenting to that you don't remember this. Like I was thinking the other day, because Lars is like sitting up and like moving around a lot, but he hasn't started crawling yet. And I'm like, when did Tilly start crawling? And I have like no idea. Yeah, it's like such a blur. You had him so close too, so I wonder the hormone. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think a lot of it like was internalized. Like looking back now. But also, like you were saying, like you're 20, you didn't care. Yeah. And like I was 20 and caring too much. Yeah, like way too much. But you were also like growing up. Because like, I mean, I had my kids when I was 30, so I was pretty set on like who I was as a person and like my beliefs and whatever. Yeah. But at 18, you don't know at all. So yeah, you look into like every place you can. Well, and we're even looking, did you see the new Netflix documentary, like Hack Your Health? So it's all about like your gut microbiome and like how you first get it. Like if you have a vaginal birth, that's like the first time your baby like gets like a gut microbiome. And then if you like breastfeed, that's like
Like, and it just goes through. I didn't watch the whole thing because I kept falling asleep during it. But Josh watched it and was like super into it. And he actually ordered me the kit because since going vegan, I've had so much stomach problems.
Really?
Yeah, like either like
I would think
I can't stop going, or I'm like just all these different issues.
Yeah.
And so that too, like when you compare each of the pregnancies, like that was Elena. I had her, I was breastfeeding her. We were watching the Cowspiracy documentary at your parents'.
Yeah.
And then I like was just like, oh, I'm vegan now. So with Elena having like her stomach problems, Josh is like almost like yeah. So I'm gonna take this like test to test, like basically the results will come like foods that are super good for you, foods that are okay for you, and foods you should avoid. This is the one from the documentary that we ordered, but there's other ones that do the same thing. So because you can do it with your HSA card.
That's cool.
Yeah. So there's other ones you can order too. So I was like, maybe we should order like a second one to see if they're similar.
Yeah.
But Elena goes to the doctor on Monday about like her stomach problems, and I think a lot of it, like you were saying with like the attitude, like I think a lot of it too is like anxiety.
Yeah.
Because like it'll happen when she has to like read at school, or like
I always had that too, where I would like get really anxious whenever I had to like do anything or like talk to people at all when I was a kid, and then it just like your stomach would just be like turning over. It was the worst.
Yeah, so I don't know, like, if counseling will be the next step, food, like, what it'll be. But that's, like, a thing, too. Like, I was just like, oh, I'm going vegan. You don't think. Like, that's...
It'll have an effect on your kids.
Yeah, and then because I was, like, purely vegan, and then I sprinkled in, like, a little bit of cheese. And then when I was pregnant with Mackenzie, Josh was like, you need to start eating fish. Like, I don't think the baby's getting, like, proper nutrition. And it's like, you can read whatever you want online, whether they are or they aren't. Yeah. But it's like, Josh had, like, strong feelings, like, I needed to, like, start eating fish to have Mackenzie, like, grow properly in my stomach. And so it's like, all those things when you're so young, like, it's so... Because now you can look back, but you can't go back and change it.
No.
Yeah.
You just use it to learn and move forward. Yeah.
Is there anything you had to, like... deal with being the last one in the family to have kids?
I feel like that was more so, well, I guess like Ben's parents would kind of be like, so when are you guys going to be doing it? Because I think everybody has like this ideal of like having cousins close in age. Yeah. Which like I understand because it makes things a lot easier. Like I'm personally not friends really with my cousins.
See, Josh isn't either, and that kind of...
And they were, like, so far in age difference. I was, like, they were in high school and I was in elementary school. So who's going to hang out with their, like, elementary school cousin? Like, that's not fun. So I think everybody wanted them to be close. And then we ended up, on both sides, ended up being, like, kind of a big gap between, like, the kids' ages. So I think that was an issue for, like, both grandparents, really. Yeah.
So how did you deal with that?
I just didn't listen to them. Because that was the point where, like, I was very firm in my belief that, like, I wanted to be prepared 100% in, like, multiple aspects. Like, mentally, financially. I really wanted to have a house before we decided to have kids. Like, all this stuff. So, like, I mean, and we took forever to do anything. Ben and I were dating for, oh my gosh, it was like 8 years before we even got engaged. Yeah. And then we were engaged for like another 2 years or 3 years before we got married. Yeah. So we like take our time on stuff.
And then, did you own the house before you got married?
No, we bought the house. It was only like 3 months after we got married. Because we were looking like that summer before we got married, and then we stopped because Ben and I kept getting into fights because one of us would like a house and like one of us wouldn't. And then it'd be like, okay, there's too much going on with the wedding. Like, we just need to take a break. Yeah. And this was, like, the first house we looked at when we started again.
Really?
Yeah, like, right after we got married.
I love that. That's Josh and I. I'm scared that I'll be the one that compromises, and then I'll resent him when we buy a house. And so we've had, like, a lot, because we kind of, like, did look when he got pre-approved the one time. I mean, even that has been such a, like, we said by the time we're going back to middle school, we wanted to buy a house. Now it's by the time she gets to high school, and it's like...
It's a big investment. And I mean, like, right now, too, the market is crazy, so
Yeah.
it's a little hard to have like that initial amount of money to like just throw at that.
But it makes you feel like some type of way. Not, and because that's like, we'll be the last ones to buy a house.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, yeah, I feel like there's just like this like dynamic in between Josh and Eric.
Yeah, they're always like competing, I feel.
Yeah.
Between like just what they have in their lives.
And sometimes I almost like agree with Josh and sometimes I don't. But also he's my husband, so I want to like not, you know what I mean? And like when he gets into a hobby, he's really into that hobby.
Too into it.
Yeah, where
he needs to calm down.
Yeah. And so I'm like, I don't want to go like throwing him under the bus, but at the same time, it's like they think to me, I'm like, they're like, your parents are over there like, oh, Tanisha's the problem. Tanisha's why you guys don't own a house. And I'm like, we should have separate bank accounts. I'm not.
I mean, you could.
I'm not great with money.
Ben and I are pretty separate on our stuff. Like, we have, I think, 2 joint accounts that we put money into. One of them's for, like, self-care stuff that we just can use out of. And then one of them is, like, the joint savings, which is, like, our house stuff.
Yeah. So what are you doing now?
We do the same thing.
That you're not working?
Yeah, pretty much. So it'll just be, like, my stuff will stay in my account. And then Ben has, like, his accounts that he'll put into every time he gets paid.
And you're just gonna live off savings? Dang.
I mean, we pretty much split stuff down the middle. Okay. It won't be like necessarily like that since he'll be the only one making money, but yeah, for bills and stuff.
That was a big thing too, like, now I feel like I'm having 2 topics.
We're just like all over the place.
So I felt like you guys are like, my in-laws, like all of it, because I don't know, conversations be getting heated over there sometimes, where it's like, oh, Tanisha like spends all this money, blah, 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 and it's like, but I've always made the money. Yeah. Like up until now, so it's like, and also, y'all don't see what he like really is buying. Yeah. Like, cause if he doesn't want you guys to know the full price, he won't say it. What am I supposed to do? Call him up for it? Or like,
by the way, he spent this much on
that. I'm like, you want me to show up at family with receipts? So but besides that, like when we got married, I felt like a lot of pressure from like my family, like, oh, you're married now, have a joint bank account. So I did reach out to you like a lot about that because I'm like, I don't know what to do. And like, we had one before we got married and it was like so negative. It was negative for like months. Yeah. Because they charged like a fee. So our paychecks would go in and it would still be negative. Like it was so bad. Yeah. And then we like did separate bank accounts, but like Josh would like give me money and then we'd get like for me to save it. And then we'd like get into a fight and he'd want it back. And then by like 2 days later when we made up, it was spent. And so now we're like doing a joint bank account and like, I don't know, like, I think Vanessa and I are going to, like, do, like, a no-spend challenge. But I said it's not just me that needs to do the no-spend challenge. Yeah, I need to make him do it. Yeah. Because we've made, like, 3,000 different budgets. And it's, like, last 2 days. Literally every time. And it's, like, we're going to budget it out when we get paid. Or we're going to, like, stick to this. Like, we've tried, like, when I say every budget out there, like off of Pinterest, from you, from my aunt, like we've tried like every single budget out there, but then it just feels like almost like judgment. Like, oh, we can't get it together.
Which I don't think so. I mean, it's definitely not, it's not coming like that way from anywhere. I think it's just like, you're like feeling like the judgment and stuff, but I don't think that anybody ever feels that way. Well, like, especially when you talk about like having a budget and like figuring things out. Yeah. Then it's just kind of like great. You're like talking about it and thinking about it. Yeah. And wanting to like better your financial situation. And that's great.
Literally the problem is like we talk about it so much. I almost feel like too. Like sometimes we're so like into it and then it's like, wait, we just talked about like 5 different options. What one are we actually
It is hard to like figure that out though, especially when Josh wants to be so involved too, because like Ben wants like nothing to do with money. He's kind of just like, you know what, here's access to my accounts, like do what we need to do with it. And then I mean like I have an Excel spreadsheet and like all this stuff. I'm very like anal about that, so it worked out that way. But yeah, if like 2 people want to be involved, it's hard to like
Because I have cousins where, like, the guy, like, she's like, I don't even know. Like,
I could not imagine that. I'm very, like, particular, especially about money. That it's like, I could just not have, I can't just not have control over that. I need to be able to see what's going on. Which I think is also, you know, you can use that in, like, the in-law stuff. Is maybe just try to do, like, a couple of outings instead of, like, a full day of activities. Because, that's a lot to deal with.
Well, that's like the one time your mom texted and said something, and I was like, oh, like, Josh doesn't want to come, but the girls and I can for, like, 2 hours. And Vanessa was like, you said that? And I was like, well, what am I supposed to say? He said he didn't want to go.
Yeah. And, like, my mom's pretty up about what she's very
so
like that.
Sometimes I'm like, am I rude or am I not rude? Like, I'm telling the truth.
I don't think that's rude. I think that's great. That's the best thing to do is, like, be honest with them and be like, well, actually, I really need this time for myself. Like, if you want to take the kids. Because I'll do that with my in-laws. Like, especially now that I'm, like, staying home with the kids full time. But I'll be like, hey, do you have, like, a couple hours to just watch the kids so that I can go, like, do this for myself? Yeah. And they're, like, really good about being like, yes, definitely, like, take some time for yourself and not worry about it.
For a while, Josh would never ask your parents.
Yeah.
But then he would almost, I don't want to say, like, jealous is the right word, but then, like, when he'd have, like, the boys, he would be like, oh, why does my mom, like, those aren't my mom's kids, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but, like, use your village. Yeah. Like, you can't complain that we never get to go on dates, but you never ask.
Yeah. It needs to be, like, open communication.
Your mom texted him, we were driving, and he, like, opened it, deleted it, exit out of it. So then
like, what do you expect to happen then if you're just not even going to communicate?
So I took
he's, like, always been really bad about that.
To your parents.
Yeah. To everyone. He was always, like, really bad at communicating even with me. Yeah. And, like, for a while, like, I felt like we were good, and then it would just be, like, nothing. He just, like, decides, usually, like, he doesn't want to talk anymore for a while, and it'll be, like, months, and you're like, hello? Are you there?
So, I took out my phone, and I was, like, responding to her question. Yeah. And he was like, who are you texting? And I said, your mom. And he's like, you read that over my shoulder? And I was like, Josh, it's rude.
Yeah. Yes, and that's the thing, is, like, you gotta make sure that you're not being rude about whenever talking to in-laws. Like, because otherwise, things just get taken, like, the wrong way, and then it gets twisted, and then if people aren't communicating, it, like, blows into this bigger thing that just, like, doesn't need to ever end. Number one, communication. Communicate. Be honest, but not mean. That's the thing. Like, don't be mean or rude, but, like, be honest about your needs and, like, your comfort level for things, you know?
Perfect.
It seems so simple, but, like, that is the biggest thing to do and, like, the most difficult thing, I think. Especially when you feel like you're being kind of, like, needy or...
Well, that's the thing, too, with, like, dinners. Like, it's almost, like, we'll be like, no, we're happy to bring stuff. Yeah. And she's like, no, like, don't bring stuff. And it's like, but no, like, actually just let us...
My mom's so mad about that. Where it's like, I have to forcefully be like, no, like, don't make one of the things you were planning on making, and I will bring something. Because she spends so much time, like, making all this food.
And I feel like it, like, stresses her out. Yeah. And then you, like, get there and you can almost kind of, like, feel her stress. And it's like, no, just, like, let us take some of that from you. Yes. Because otherwise I'm just going to be over here in a bad mood.
Yeah. And then she thinks she's helping you because then you don't have to take anything over there. And it's like... Just like a vicious cycle.
It really is.
Of, like, everyone thinking, like, different intentions, but, like, those weren't actually.
Well, I think that's, like, a big thing, too, is Josh doesn't communicate. Your mom has anxiety. I have anxiety. And it's so, like, it's not good. But any other advice on, like, boundaries with in-laws?
I don't think so. I mean, main thing is be honest. I don't have, like, a ton to say about, like, if people are not listening to you, because my in-laws are great about that, like, listening and taking in what I'm saying.
Do your parents do everything that you ask?
Yeah, I don't think there's really a lot that I ask them to change, but I think that they would if I did ask them. But, like, sometimes people just have, like, in-laws where it's impossible to get through to them. And I think at that point, I don't want to say, like, do an ultimatum, but be like, hey, if we can't get to an agreement on this,
Yeah.
I don't know if we can come here as much or like
Yeah.
spend as much time together.
Yeah.
I think communication is still number one in that, you know, even if it's hard. Which I'm sure it will be.
Yeah, I mean, it has, like, I remember I was, like, in the mall with my dad, and there was a group text happening, and I, like, say to my dad, I'm like, I don't know what to say to this. And I wish I could, like, remember, but it was something probably where me and our ex-sister-in-law, like, didn't agree.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know, like, what to say here. Like, do I say nothing? Because that's what, literally, every single time I've, like, been frustrated, Josh is like, just don't say anything.
That's his go-to.
Yeah.
Like, shut down.
And my go-to is like, I'm going to bring up 3,000 reasons why you're wrong. I'm going to bring up 7 things from the past. Like, I'm going to just explode. And his thing is to say nothing. So it's been really hard to, like, find
like a medium.
Yeah.
Like, where you're going to meet in the middle for that.
Because at some point, I'm like, it's his family. Like, he needs to say. But at other points, I'm like, he's not going to say.
No. Which happens a lot. I feel like a lot of times the woman in a relationship sometimes takes that burden of, like, the relationship with in-laws, with their family, like, with all the family. It just becomes, like, your thing that you have to manage. So I think that's
Do you have to do that, or does Ben do it?
I do it a lot, but a lot of times, like, Ben will be like, hey, we're going to my parents' house today. And I'm like, okay. And he usually, like, will set up stuff with, like, his brother.
Okay.
But a lot of times with, like, his sister, I'll end up texting her just because we're pretty good friends and stuff. So it kind of depends on who the person is. Yeah. But it's not like Ben ever, like, he would never contact my parents to be like, hey, let's set up a play date or something, you know? Yeah. Like, that just wouldn't happen.
Yeah. Well, that's like, so, okay, last weekend too. Maybe this will be the last thing we say.
Yeah.
But, like, last week, we were in the garage, in a circle, everyone's talking, and then your mom had said something about, like, me and Eric getting the kids together. And Eric was the one who said, like, Shanice and I don't hang out. And I was like, yeah. So, I was, like, talking with Vanessa on her walk last night, actually. Because I'm like, is it bad that I feel, like, slightly like it's inappropriate? Like, I wouldn't go hang out with Ben. I'm not gonna go hang out with Eric. Like, I get it, like, it's my husband's brother and they're cousins, but, like, hanging out with you, we're two, like, girls. I feel like
it's pretty
I wouldn't just go over to Eric's house.
No.
Like, that would be weird. Even, like, the couple times I've dropped off or picked up, like, the dogs, like, either their dog or our dog, like, which way. Like, I don't really want to be inside for more than, like, a minute.
No. I wouldn't go out of my way to, like, hang out with Ben's brother, like, by myself.
Yeah. You know? So, I'm like, it's not gonna happen. No. But
it's like, always just weird.
Josh would never feel a type of way, but I would never want any, like, thing weird ever said. I'm like, I just can't do it. Yeah. So I'm like,
it's impossible. That's my advice, is, like, everything's impossible.
Yeah.
Figure out what works best. I guess is the best thing to do.
Well, that's what I say to, like, new moms when my cousin became a mom. I was like, you just need to make your own decision and then stick to it.
Yeah. Because whatever you're comfortable with.
Your gut will tell you what's right. Like, breastfeeding, co-sleeping, how many days to give them baths. Like, give them a bath every day, every 2 days, every 3 days when they're gone.
And you're going to hear, like, all those differing opinions and feel like everything is being a judgment. Yeah. But just, you have to, like, try and ignore that.
Yeah, and I learned that, like, way too late.
Yeah, I know. It's hard when you're young and a mom. Yeah.
So, I guess, okay, here's my actually last question. Being, like, older when you had your kids, your first time away from them, was it, like, super mom guilt, you were just cool with it? Was it super hard?
I would say I definitely didn't have any guilt. Okay. I felt, like, good about leaving them and, like, comfortable with it. But, like, I just miss them. Like, being close to them. It's hard when you're like when you have a kid and they're just on you all the time.
Yeah.
Especially as a mom, like you just feel that 100 times more than like the dad would. Yeah. They're just like there, like constantly. Mm-hmm. So then that first time that you just like let them go, and I mean, as a first time mom, you're always gonna have anxiety no matter what. Yeah. But like that's just so hard to just be like, okay, I'm not gonna miss you now. I'm just gonna leave. So like felt good about it, but also like sad and wanted to like check up.
Did you have to force yourself?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. I had to just be like, okay, I need to leave now.
Yeah. You were our first overnight with Brooklyn. And I like really didn't want to do it. And Josh and your mom like kind of like forced me, and then I got like mad.
I would be too if you weren't ready for it. Yeah. Yeah. Because it's hard, like as a mom, you're just so close with your kids. Yeah. Not being comfortable with like that first time that they leave to go stay somewhere is really hard.
Because I have like that picture. I look at it and I feel the feelings of how mad I was.
You should have told me that you weren't comfortable with the communication, Janisha.
She's in the yellow like sundressy thing and I'm in that DC gray shirt. Yeah. I like Stuart and like your mom was like texting me like the whole weekend like, Ashley, blah, 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 so great. I'm like, fucking good for Ashley. She can have the kid then. Bye. Like, so mad. Oh, Josh was like, if there's anyone on this planet that we should trust with our kid, like, it's Ashley. And I'm like, you don't even know Ben. And, like, you don't even know. And she's a totally different person than the last time you knew her. Like, you haven't even lived with her in all these years.
But also, that's, like, not the point. Like, of course you're going to hand your kid off to somebody you just, like, number one, obviously. But, like, having, like, your kid leave for the first time is such a big deal. And you need to be, like, comfortable with it. Yeah. At least, like, somewhat comfortable with it where you're like, okay, I'm not going to, like, have, like, all these, like, anger feelings and stuff. Yeah.
I definitely, like, being young just kind of felt, like, forced into it. Yeah. Because Josh was so, like, comfortable and I was so uncomfortable that a lot, and, like, I mean a lot, even, like, them going, like, down playground slides and, like, so much was Josh's so, like, hands like that, like, they're, like, let them be kids, and I'm so, like, helicopter, and I don't even really consider myself a helicopter mom, but compared to Josh,
like, he's, like, to the extent where, like, do you know where your children are?
Yeah, so I'm, like, definitely more than him, not super helicoptery, but it's, like, it was, like, a big to-do.
Yeah. Tell me next time.
So, alright, well, see you. We love you. We hope that you have a great week. You liked this episode. Next week we'll be back with Vanessa. Bye.